My parents loved me. I was a very loved child, but they called me a pleasant surprise. But pretty much from the time that I could start to understand things, I felt like I was a mistake. And if they would have had their way, I wouldn't be here. And again, like I said, they never treated me that way, but that's just how I felt about myself. The first instance of violence I can remember in my life, I was 6 years old, and I broke a kid's jaw for calling my mom a turkey and rolled him in a half-frozen lake. I was 6, and so I punished other people for how I felt about myself. And kept going for a long time, and that led up to me getting incarcerated at the age of 17 for starting a fight with 6 Japanese exchange students. A very good friend of mine, Trevor Jones, and we used to talk a lot of doctrine, and he encouraged me to just go back and read a piece of the Bible, and I read Psalm 139, where the Lord said that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and that He knit me together in my mother's womb. My whole life was just really put into focus. I'm not a mistake. I'm intentional. When I was in territorial prison and Dan Matchey brought Thirdmill stuff in, and he says, this guy from Orlando gave us some materials. Why don't you look them over and see what you think? Maybe we could use them here. I did that, and of course I was immediately blown away and impressed. It's some heady stuff, but if used the right way, and I hope it was in there, it challenges you to live out your theology and to walk a different way, to actually walk out the Bible in your life. A lot of times they say prison is where you go to become a better criminal, and in a lot of ways that can be true. The churches inside the prison have to combat that culture, and discipleship can't start until guys realize there's an authority that they're going to follow, and that authority is Christ. And He has to have absolute authority all the time. And I think the first step in real discipleship is breaking down those walls and saying, you're under authority, and you should be happily so. We really did struggle to find ways to produce material that would be impactful, it would truly disciple people, but would hold their attention and really produce results. And when we got the Thirdmill stuff, that really was Dan's comment to me, is look this over, see if it's something we can use, because we were always looking for that. And when I looked it over, it was absolutely, the material's phenomenal. There's no question about that. Then the big question came, how do we make this work for our particular audience? We had enough time afterwards to sit around an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, and digest this stuff, and then use the workbooks in that way. So we would sit down, and it was like we'd listen to the material and get that introduction to the ideas and the thoughts, and then we would sit down with the workbooks and let them guide us through discussion. So the guys never went home and filled out their workbooks because they didn't have the DVDs to look at. So we did it all together, and it really worked for us. We hear reports and rumors and a lot of innuendo about how Thirdmill is doing overseas and in all of these various cultures. And prison is like a third world country in your backyard, right down the street, a few miles away. They talk a different language. They're using English words, but they don't mean the same thing they mean out here. And it's a different culture, and they're living a different lifestyle. And Christianity in there is very much a mission field, just like it would be in Haiti or some part of Africa. And unfortunately, when I got out, one of the unfortunate things about my release was I left all of the material there. And I'm glad I did, because what I lost, they still had. And it's still going strong in there. The men that we raised up in the class, long before I ever left, were teaching it themselves. In one prison in Colorado, they literally have seminary courses where men are getting credit, and some of the curriculum that's being taught in those seminary courses is Thirdmill curriculum. These guys are getting a seminary level education. They're getting it for free, and it's really creating disciples. And of course, our chaplain there at Lyman is very particular about that. He thinks that every man should have a mentor, and every man should have a student. And so he's living proof that this stuff works. It doesn't just make a Christian stronger, it makes a Christian a strength for other Christians. We're so grateful for you guys that you produce this stuff, that you produce it for free and you give it to us freely, and it's changing lives, including mine.